So it looks like the recording of my third match messed up a bit for some reason. It cuts off halfway through. But thankfully, one of the features of Magic Online now is that you can replay all your old events, or at least ones in the recent past. So I'm just going to play it through the replay if it's confusing as to why everything's happening so quickly. So I choose to play first and keep a pretty good hand. I've got 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. It's often correct to not Inquisition turn 1 because you're then more likely to get decent spells later on, but I think that applies more to Thoughtseize and spells like that, ones that take everything. Inquisition obviously only taking the early drops, you might as well just run it out. And oh, I missed it. Basically, he revealed a hand of he had Seal of Fire, Kiln Fiend, Hellrider, and 4 lands. I believe he might have had 3 lands, but either way, there's not an ideal hand for me because I don't really have ways of... Oh, sorry, no, he had Char, I just remembered. So he had Seal of Fire, Kiln Fiend, Char, Hellrider, and 3 lands. So even though I can get rid of the Seal of Fire to run out my looter, it's still a pretty quick hand that I don't want to have to deal with. Far Away doesn't deal with the Hellrider because obviously he just sacrifices the Kiln Fiend, and my hand's pretty slow right now. So even with a looter, I'm going to need to draw some stuff. So he plays Kiln Fiend as expected, and I'll just attack with my looter. Draw a fairly irrelevant Sakushima the Imposter, but I don't really need that Watery Grave. So I discard the Watery Grave over a basic land because I figure I probably want to cast away this turn and then this next turn, or this if I draw a big creature, and I don't really want to lose 2 life against him, and I don't think the double black or triple blue is going to be relevant in the game, so that's the reasoning behind pitching the Grave. Unfortunately for me, he draws Chain Lightning for the looter, so any plans of Dread returning something big next turn are down the drain. Also pretty bad for me because obviously he now attacks for 4. Well, he would attack for 4, so I'm forced to use the away there, and my Sakushima student is now fairly irrelevant. I could have actually Dread returned the looter there. I think in hindsight that was probably a mistake, but I'm not sure if it would have made too much difference. But yeah, you never know. I'd consider attacking there with my copied Hellrider, but obviously I'd rather block. He unfortunately draws a Flame Slash. I know he had Char in hand, but that would tap him out and remove a spell from his hand that could go to my face. So I would rather he had charred it, but drawing Flame Slash means I still know he has Char in his hand, and I'm still getting Hell-ridden pretty heavily. Ironically, after thinking I didn't need the 3rd black, I then do need the 3rd black. So that's pretty unfortunate, and I end up Dread returning the Hellrider. So again, it's hard to tell whether a looter would have been better than a Hellrider, but you know, I don't know what cards I would have drawn by now, and obviously looter doesn't block Hellrider at all, and he could have just killed it earlier on, so you know, it's really hard to tell what the correct play would have been. He uses the Char that I know he's got, and I really need a Swamp here. Now, I don't draw Swamp, but... So this was interesting. I don't know if you saw there, but I choose to take a Night's Whisper off an Impulse over... Okay, so I can't remember what else there was, but it was an island, and I believe it's a creature that could block, but I didn't think it was going to get me very far, and I figured what I really need to do is just draw, like play Night's Whisper down to 6 and draw a removal spell or similar, and I hope to get there. Basically, it's not looking great for me right now, but Baleful Strix is a start. He's got no cards in hand, so he can't kill it, and it does obviously block both of his guys. Bitter Blossom is basically dead, but I did get the the 3rd black source for Massacre Worm, so that, if nothing else, is a blocker next turn. So he blanks on his draw, just sacrifices the Jackal Pup. I have to block, so I'm not going to 3. And then, yeah, I just untap and make the big guy. Unfortunately, it doesn't kill anything, but I'm not too bothered by that at this point. I'm just happy that I have something to block. I'm not going to play the Bitter Blossom, and he draws a mountain, which is ideal for me. So I can attack the turn because I drew a Psychotog, and I want to just kill him as soon as possible. Psychotog will do that fairly quickly. So this turn he blanked again, and he's forced to just not attack. Fortunately for me, I drew pretty much the best card in my deck to draw at this point, which is Shackles, and I can just steal his guy and win with that, and he, unsurprisingly, concedes. So I can't show you sideboarding, obviously, because I'm playing replays, but I just took out I think I took out Bitter Blossom and one of the 6 drops, possibly Soul of Innistrad. I'm not sure if that was actually in my list, but one of the 6 drops basically, and just put in cheap removal spell and a cheap creature, just things that keep me alive as soon as possible. I'm on the draw, so I want a hand that's fairly proactive fairly quickly. And this hand, it could be a whole lot worse. I don't have a 1-drop versus a Jackal Pup, but next turn I can play a Strix and daze whatever he plays, assuming he taps out for it. So, yeah, it's definitely a decent hand. He plays 1-drop and 2-drop, which is pretty bad for me, because now if he has a removal spell for the Strix and it doesn't cost 3 or 2 if he doesn't play land, then I'm obviously pretty screwed. But I actually drew the ultimate price. If I hadn't drawn it, I obviously would have killed the Kiln Fiend at his turn. There was also the option of firing Kiln Fiend, but I figured I wasn't really getting anywhere with that. It's kind of only a good play if he has a removal spell, and then if I also have a removal spell on top. So I think all in all it wasn't the right play. So he has the one mana kill spell and also something I daze, but at this point it's fairly relevant because Kiln Fiend's now a 7/2. So I go to 9, and this time decide I have to just ultimate price his Kiln Fiend, which annoyingly is a 1/2, but I just can't really let it live. So I actually considered here for a while what I was going to ultimate price, so long that it actually showed up on the replay. But yeah, at that point I draw something irrelevant. I could play a land and away him and go to 1, but I figured I wasn't winning, so I just threw in the towel at that early point. And so my opening hand is, it's not ideal, but it is decent. I can counter as 2-drop whatever it is, and then hopefully Shackles will take over the game. I obviously want to draw a couple of islands, but it's not too bad right now, and I've got an away on turn 3 should I need it. So, I mean, it's not doing much as a hand, but it's stopping what he's doing, hopefully. So he plays turn 1 Loveman, so I didn't really want to see a 1-drop, but drawing Looter turn 2 means I actually have a play with my daze. I mean, obviously I'd rather not return the land to my hand, but I think getting the Looter down on turn 2 is pretty crucial, especially when I've got Diabolic Servitude in my deck. So, I was wrong actually, I didn't board out this Looter. I guess I must have figured that it's too crucial for my plan, but yeah, so I was actually worried that turn he might go removal spell and Lavamancer, but thankfully he didn't have the 1-drop burn spell. I think I got pretty lucky there, because I did actually consider, instead of casting at Looter, I considered just casting Far on his Grim Lavamancer. But, I mean, obviously in hindsight it worked out, but at the time I figured that wasn't getting me too far, and even if he did double kill my creatures, then I'm kind of saving 5 damage to me, which is kind of fine, and then I can Shackles his Lavamancer in 2 turns, and hopefully everything's fine. Unfortunately, the 2 goblins make away pretty useless now, but, obviously couldn't have known that. So I, attack with Looter, as you do, draw fairly relevant, but with Sheoldred in the graveyard, I can now Servitude next turn, which is a pretty good play. And as I mentioned, I could have farred him the turn before, but I did it last turn when he was tapped out, so I got pretty good value off the Lavamancer. As I know I'm Servituding the Sheoldred, I basically just wanted to deal on damage. Basically I just wanted to stay alive. And for that reason, I'm going to actually block a Goblin here with my Merfolk Looter, because A, I want to not take any damage, and B, Sheoldred's better when he has fewer creatures, obviously, so that's the reason why I'm about to block. So yeah, I loot an Impulse, which I don't particularly need. I'd rather have the guaranteed untapped land, which turns out to be a good play because I didn't draw a land, so yeah, just make a Sheoldred, and make a sacrifice creature. So he just burns me for 3 there, which is slightly worrying and suggests he's got a lot of burn in his hand. But, now I can start reanimating stuff and killing his Lavamancer. I'll hopefully be okay with my various creature removals. But, yeah, so I think the only way at this point that he can kill me is by burning me out, which to be fair is possible because he is on 19, so I'm about to go to 11 off the Lavamancer, obviously, so I kill that as soon as I can, because I draw the Disfigure, and then, yeah, I pass. There's no real point in playing the Shackles here, because he's not going to play something that I can steal, and I'd rather just remove Soul in case he has something that deals damage when it comes into play. I'm not really sure what there is, to be honest, but yeah. So yeah, So I think this could have been a mistake here. So I basically want to kill him as quickly as possible, so I figure if I attack with Looter, that's fine. But I'm assuming he's not going to be able to deal with a Sheoldred. And if I hadn't attacked, he'd go to 7 the next turn. He'd need 2 removal spells to not die, so I think attacking that Looter was actually a mistake. I think having the extra draw would have been the much better play. But yeah, so as you can see, at the end of the turn, he's tapping 3 mana and stagger shocking me down to 7. And he needs to kill me this turn, but I'm on 7, and that seems pretty likely considering he's playing mono red, so there's a Stoke the Flames, and there's a Fire Blast. GG.